I'm your host, Chris Dames. We've got a few people in the waiting room. We're going to start letting people in, and while we're waiting for other people to join the meeting, just have a bit of a chat. And the first one to connect, let's see who's up, is Leslie. Morning, Leslie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm really, really good today. Really good. It feels like there's a bit of spring in the air, right?
Nearly.
Nearly. We're getting there. We're getting there. I'm just, it's close. It's not there yet. It's close. But I suppose what I wanted to, while we're waiting for some people, other people to join, the first thing I want to talk about is love, because we're going to be talking flowers today, right? And we're going to be talking about potential romance, because Julie's had a busy weekend sorting out Valentine's Day. But what does love and romance mean to you, Leslie?
Gosh, that's a good one. I think it's, yeah, I gave it men a long time ago, so it's a sort of...
yeah. That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm probably not a good person to ask. I've got 3 ex-husbands, so it's
yeah. So you probably know what not to do, right? That's the like from that experience. Yeah. Come back to me.
Yeah, I guess to me it is a partnership where you get 100% support from each other.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to maintain that, I think. And I think it takes work on both sides. It doesn't happen, it happens at the beginning, in the full flood of lust, but then it's sort of, to keep it going, I think you have to work at it.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think any partnership works unless both parties are invested in.
And it's having that teamwork over and above. I mean, I know Carol and Martin work together, and Cassie and I work together, but sometimes it's having that. We know it's having that teamwork over and above some of the sort of day-to-day stuff. So thank you, Ian. Talk to me about what romance means to you. This is going to be a contentious subject, I can tell already. I shouldn't have gone down this road.
Well, you've made your bed, Chris.
I know. I will now lie in it.
I tell you what, I mean, grand gestures are great, but I think for me, true romance is the little things. And that's what keeps it going. Yeah,
100%. I agree with that. Yeah, it's not the big stuff, it's the little stuff day to day. Now, Carol, I don't know if you want to answer this or not, to be honest, but I've, as I said, it's more embarrassing for me now than it is for anybody else, but I'm going to carry on regardless. What is love and romance?
I was only trying to make you laugh. Of course, it's all romance here. We hold hands all day as we call people. Absolutely beautiful. No, and Leslie sort of touched on exactly what came into my head, but yeah, at the start it is all that romance stuff, isn't it? But it's keeping that going, and it's not romantic really having kids and doing that day-to-day stuff. But I think that where we went through all that building work and it's all really rubbish and everything, and just so many times one of us or the other just said it's so nice to have someone to bear this with. That imagine being on your own and finding out you've got to spend another X amount of cash on something, so the practical side of things, but yeah, having someone to just support you through all that rubbish stuff rather than it pulling you apart.
But knowing somebody's got your back is important, isn't it? Knowing somebody's there to go, if you're having a bad day or they're having a bad day, just somebody to say, this is important. I think is probably not romantic, but certainly more valuable. So thank you, appreciate that. Sharon, what does love and romance mean to you?
Can I pass on this question?
Oh God, I need to think of better opening questions. Definitely. This is Simon. Are you comfortable answering this one or not?
Of course. I mean, I could turn around and
He's up for this one.
I was going to say I could turn around and say it's a brass band, but that would be inappropriate. I think it's not taking anyone for granted, which sometimes can happen, and don't get into a rut, really.
Yeah.
I think those are crucial things, and it's about respect and communication as well.
Sometimes that's difficult in a long-term relationship, though, isn't it? You know, the longer it goes, the tougher it is, because there is a element of complacency that creeps in. And I think you've got to try and fight against that. Christine, I'm getting myself in so much trouble this morning. Love and romance.
Good morning, everyone. So I've missed what other people have said because I came in late, so apologies for that. But I think I echo a bit of what Simon says. I think for me, okay, the love and romance at the beginning is always kind of the, you know, the fun honeymoon period. But I think after that, it's not taking them for granted. I think it's thinking about the other person and doing the little gestures, you know. For me, it bugs me that my husband doesn't offer to make me a cup of tea often enough. And I did in reverse. I think, well, just those little things, I think, just kind of show that you love and that you care about that other person. It's just thinking about the little details, I think. They don't have to be big gestures. It's not about the flowers and the chocolates and the jewellery. It's about every day.
Yeah, just a bit of consideration, bit of thoughtfulness, and just, doing those actions. I like that. And Julie, what does love and romance mean to you?
Being tolerant.
Well, can I just thank everybody for being tolerant of my really poor question this morning? I mean, that is poor form, so thank you for bearing with me. So tolerance is really important. Great. And on that super awkward note,
something to that. I have a friend who has an amazing relationship with her partner. They've been together 30-something years. And one of the things she says, and this is tolerance in action, they have a shoe rack in the hallway, and she puts her shoes on it, and he throws his shoes in the general direction of it. And she said, I used to get really uptight about it. And then I realised that it wasn't that important in the scheme of things. And I stopped getting sort of festering, because you do more damage to yourself by getting in a knot about it. And she said to just let it go and go, if that's how he likes things to be, that's fine. It's not going to damage anybody. It's, you know, it's just a couple of shoes. You know? In the gym,
I mean, Cassie and I have got this thing where we talk about, will it matter in 10 years' time? So like everything we think about, it's like, well, is it going to matter in the long term? And if it doesn't, is it enough to fight about or sort of worry about? And I think
it's about not trying to change people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, be more considerate about the people they are and not trying to change them into what you think they should be, I think is key. But yeah, it's an interesting one. And on that super awkward note, should we just quickly sort of try and transition into a bit of business talk, because we might be more Ian's coming like that. Yes, Ian, we are going to do that very, very quickly. Leslie, tell us a little bit about you and your business.
I'm Leslie Morrissey. I'm a reputation marketing consultancy. Well, I say I am. I've got 2 colleagues that I work with. We do all the things that keep your reputation nice and glossy, mostly online, but we generate content for just about anything that represents your business. And also help people to get their strategy in line, because it's no good just going out and throwing some stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks. It really needs to be focused. So that's what we do.
Talk to me a little bit about just a practical example about how that reputation sort of work you do is in action.
And it's the acronym is RAVE, so reputation, authority, visibility, and expertise. So the reputation is about taking control of your reputation. In other words, I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase, if you tell somebody something often enough, they start to believe it. Well, I think it's about putting out good quality content on social media, on your blogs and your newsletters, on your website, that all say the same thing, so that people get a consistent message. So when they talk about you, that's what they talk about. They don't just gossip idly. Yep. The authority bit is about being the name that pops into people's mind and when they think of your industry. So it's about being a thought leader as far as possible. Visibility is self-explanatory. You know, people are fickle. They disappear like in a nanosecond. If you aren't visible, they forget you. And expertise is about showing off. Basically, it's showing your knowledge and I tend to say blogs are a good place to do that, to share tips and how-tos, and you know, the nitty-gritty that sets you apart and says you know your stuff. So when people have to make that decision about who we're going to choose to do this job, if they've seen that you know your stuff and they've got an option of that, or somebody who's a bit of an unknown quantity, it's a bit of a no-brainer when it comes to making a decision.
Yeah. So a couple of questions on that and a comment. So firstly, the comment. There's a book that I read probably about 8 or 9 years ago called Influence by Robert Cialdini. He's a social psychologist.
Yeah,
yes,
the Science of Influence.
Yeah, and I think that book is a must for any business owner. I mean, the way that I had a bit of a mindset shift when I read that book, but one of the points that he makes is about consistency. You know, showing up, making sure you're doing something consistency, being reliable is like sort of just the cornerstone of everything. But I suppose the bit I'm curious about is, and I've had a couple of conversations about this with other business owners this week, impact of video. So video has been, more prevalent during lockdown, certainly, and seems to be a way to communicate in a really effective way. I know Sharon's been doing loads of webinars and sort of using video content throughout, and a lot of us have. How important is getting good at video, and is there still a gap between people going, I'm not that great on video, so I'm not going to do it? Thoughts?
You don't have to appear on the video. There's lots of ways of making videos that are sort of allow you to even not use your voice if you don't want to, although I would recommend you do, because people relate better to you. But you don't have to stand in front of a camera. And I would say that unless you're confident and you can talk confidently to the screen and don't get too shy, then get some practice. If you don't have that, I've seen people who sit behind a desk or sit in a chair and their energy levels are so low that it doesn't give you need that life and energy. I used to be in the Professional Speakers Association, so I know a little bit about presentation skills. I used to teach people. And sitting here on Zoom is fine. It's quite relaxed. You're standing up, aren't you? You can tell because your energy is different. And we're all sitting down and our energy is much lower. So if you want to get your energy across, you need to stand up and move, really.
Well, the only reason I'm standing up is because I don't run as much as Carol, and I just need to get my exercise wherever I can. That's the honest answer. So I'll just walk around my little office here. Okay, great, thank you. Yeah, so make sure your energy's up. But I suppose tools like, and we haven't used it at Savello, but tools like Doodly are quite powerful, aren't they?
Yeah, then you're a Me Too-y. I mean, I use Vidnami, which is, I think it costs about $400 a year, something like that, for a subscription, but it's amazing. And you can literally type your script in and it converts the script into a video.
What's that called?
Vidnami, vidnami.com. Used to be called Content Samurai. There's a cheaper version called InVideo, which I've also used, but it's not as streamlined. It's not as simple to use. It's easy to use, but it just takes longer. I mean, I used to be able to knock out a video, maybe a 3-minute video, in about 40 minutes.
How about using other press as well? Because I suppose the other thing that we do a bit of at Savello is if we get an opportunity to appear on the radio or do some magazine elements, we'd use that. Yeah, and I don't think for small firms that's out of the question, is it? There's a lot of small firms that do that.
No, because if you appear on, if you get on local radio, especially maybe if you can get onto your local BBC channel, then the main line picks it up. So if you've got a really good story, you could end up on sort of national radio. Yeah. It's just what the stringers listen to, and they go, oh, that's a good story, and they pitch it into somewhere else. So you can get spread, but then it's no good going, well, I'll just appear if I'm asked. If you've got a PR plan, then you need to have a consistent PR plan that has, where do you want to be heard, and whether
where's the strategy? A
print or broadcast. I mean, that's part of when we do strategy sessions with clients. That's one of the things we do, is we look at all the tools that are available and then identify which ones are going to work best for them in their industry with their audience.
Sure. Okay, amazing. Thank you for that, Leslie. It was a really good insight, and I picked up a
10
couple of
minute
useful tips.
presentation.
Well, seeing as my initial sort of icebreaker question completely bombed, I've got a bit more time on my hands, so I can do it. Ian, talk to me about what's going on in your world.
Well, I had a really nice surprise yesterday. I had a call from someone I was working with pre-COVID, and they said, "Yeah, I've got through all the things you got me to do last time. And I want to work with you again." So
Amazing.
you know, it's proof of what Leslie was saying. You know, you prove your worth, and people start coming back to you when they need you again.
Yeah, amazing. And what's the next stage for them? So they've done an initial piece of work. What are you going to be working on with them moving forward?
It's going to be about their structure. I mean, what I helped them with really helped them get restarted during the early stages of lockdown, and it's going to be carrying on from those lessons that I left them with, getting a good framework together, and providing a means for them to expand into something bigger than what they are now. It's going to be an exciting time. They recognise that there's going to be some personal challenges as well as business challenges. So that has stuck from the last time I was working with them. So yeah, it's brilliant.
You know what? There is you know me, and I'm a natural optimist anyway, but I do think there is a growing sense of optimism. I mean, I don't know what Boris is going to say on Monday, but certainly there is light, isn't there? And people feel a bit more optimistic about the future. Are you seeing that?
Yes, definitely. And I think there's lots of people getting prepared or trying to get prepared for the next step. And Leslie's touched on it, and so have you, Chris. It's important to find the right people to help you out.
Yeah, build the right team.
Absolutely. And you know, Leslie's got people that work with her to make sure that she's on top of her game. I know you've got people that help you, and it is so important that you get, and as I say, it's the right people for you, because I might not be the right person for someone, and I'm fine with that. And I want to find the right people because let's be selfish for a minute, it then works best for me too.
Yeah, but the you know what's interesting, and we learned a lot from working with clients over the years. You know, we've got people who are, all of our clients are smart enough to build their own financial plans if they want to. They're smart enough to do the research to invest their own money. They can do all that. But what they don't want to do is spend the hundreds of hours that it's taken me to get to a point where I can do that in a straightforward, process-driven way, and link it to their personal goals. Their time is too valuable. So it's using that time effectively. And as business owners, I think we all need to think about where our time's better spent. My thought, and I don't know about you, Ian, but over the years, my thought on this has evolved as well, because it used to be a case where, you know, there's certain jobs where I felt like we've got a cleaner, right? So we've got, not during lockdown, but before and when it happens, we've got a cleaner. And for years, I had a bit of a guilt function about having a cleaner. But actually, I'm giving somebody employment and providing them with an opportunity, and it's a job that I don't particularly, Cassie, or I particularly don't enjoy. So I think that employing external people to help you, giving them the opportunity, and just making your life a bit more efficient is a bit of a mindset shift, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know, and you know, for example, you haven't got the you're not the right size. You're not got the right kind of clout behind you to get a full-time social media person, and that's why Francis is so brilliant for you.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, if you were trying to, if you got to the stage where you're trying to hire someone like that, you'd be looking to replicate not just her in your kind of BDM world, your business development world, but you'd be trying to find people with the best bits from that and the best bits from that, and you'd be trying to morph together, you know, a whole person. And when you try and do that, you realise how valuable all of these lower level experts really are.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. Appreciate that. Yeah, really good. Carol, talk to me about what's going on in your world.
Yeah, much happier than last week. Now all the snow and the ice has gone.
I know.
Everybody's caught up, thank goodness. So yeah, that sort of feeling of unease of that, you know, you just got to wait for everyone to do it. Yeah, it's completely passed. So we've been able to let everybody know that everything's up to date, all their leaflets, everything's gone out.
How long did it take you to get back on track? A couple of days, or?
Yeah, probably about half a week. We're probably about half a week behind. So yeah, a lot of people sort of go out, you know, even at weekends, everything's say 3 or 4 days. But yes, it just all felt a bit, we just want to catch up. So very relieved.
Good stuff. And you can
well,
go out for a run again now without any problems, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no snow, no ice. So I'm out there. I hope you are too. But I've still been keeping up with Phil's class. So yeah, if anyone fancies a bit of a Saturday morning workout, it is very good. And yeah, then you don't need to be seen too much.
Yeah, Phil's classes. I mean, I've done Phil's classes live. They are amazing. And when it's back on sort of live boot camp, I'll definitely be there. Talk to me about what's going on this week, apart from catch up for you.
Well, while I was on the call last Friday lunchtime, Martin was on the phone to Havering Council, and Simon knows how much we've been working to try to get in with the council so that people know who we are, that we've got the service, and that we're ready for them. And it seems to be working. We've had a few sort of little jobs, and yeah, he was on the phone to them. They needed a load of letters out by the end of the weekend, and just around the Waterloo estate in Romford, where they're knocking down all the flats sort of opposite the brewery.
Right.
Just to inform homeowners around there of some work that was going to be started. And yeah, with the post people a bit behind with their work, we just thought, well, we'll just go for it and do it. So we did it Saturday morning. Me and Martin were out there with. It's always a good reminder of how hard post people work, because oh my goodness, our fingers were just freezing to start with, and you know, we're sort of dashing along, getting them all through. But yeah, it was a beautiful day for it as well. So it was.
But that local authority contracts, I mean, they must have to do sort of a decent amount of distribution, right?
Yeah, it's a case of getting known in every department, I think, which, as I say, is something we've been working on, and trying to get all the contacts to tell everybody else about us. And we've had sort of mixed, you need to be with, you know, this person needs to know, that person needs to know. But I feel like we're actually getting somewhere now. So yes, we're very happy.
Well, the good news is, thanks to Simon, I was on a call earlier in the week, and Howard Swift, who's the head of economic development for the local authority, I had a brief chat with him on the calls Simon set up, and he's now joined the group. So I'm hoping that. Yeah, so I'm hoping we get some engagement for him. Apparently, and Simon will allude to this, they're a bit bogged down with dealing with the grant claims and grant applications. But one of the things that I mentioned to him was, you know, part of my ambition with this group is to strategically support businesses moving forward. And the grant applications will help, but actually we all want to be around for 10, 15, 20 years potentially as businesses. And we need to start thinking about looking strategically. So, so hopefully we'll get some engagement from Howard, and I'll tag him into this post so he can see what we're saying. But certainly certainly in a future meeting, it'd be good to get Howard along, potentially talk about what sort of support local authority can deliver, and have him as one of our speakers and have a bit of a dialogue and debate with him. So yeah, I'll leave that with me, Carol. That's a bit of a longer term one, but we'll see what we can do about that.
Right.
Sharon, talk to me about what's going on in your world.
If you can get the unmute to work. Morning, people in the boxes. How are we all this morning?
Good.
So my world's been interesting this week. I did a webinar on Zero, which was really, really interesting. Bit of a challenge for me because I felt like hell that morning. And it threw me. I just felt so rough, but it was good. There's been some positive feedback. And I hope people that came really enjoyed it, even if I was a bit flat.
Well, Cassie attended because we're big Zero users and said, we think we're quite good at Zero, but she learnt a couple of new things. So thank you for that.
Excellent. So that was much of my week this week. And the rest of the week's been a bit quiet, I think, just because I felt...
Yeah. I mean, I suppose it's getting the balance right between, protecting your own mental health and well-being and carrying on when you need to, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, I don't know if people know, I had a mini stroke back in middle of November, and it's had a bit of an impact with sickness, with double vision. It's really been a pain. So I've walked that fine line between keeping my business moving forward and keeping the clients that I've got happy so that they're still having the service that they need.
Yeah,
so it's finding that happy ground, and I think I failed this week.
Yeah, you know what? I think, and Cassie's had to remind me of this week. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect all the time, right? It doesn't matter if it's not perfect all the time, and sometimes we have weeks where it isn't as great. But as a community, if we can support each other when times aren't as good as well, and we're feeling a bit under pressure, if it's just a reminder to say, you know what, I'm guilty of not being perfect as well. That's probably the way we go. But webinars, because we've got a webinar coming up. We're doing a webinar soon. I think webinars as a tool, and we ran one on Monday. Quick story about my webinar. I do all mine with professional partners, and one of my professional partners, who's a HR expert, invited one of their clients along, who runs is a director of a construction firm in Barking. So he was along on the call, and I recognised him, and I didn't know where I recognised him from. And he went, I know you. And when you try to work out where you sort of know, and he was running the marathon for St Francis Hospice, and I went on a training run with him at Brentwood Running Club, and it was like, yeah, this is just, it's a weird environment. When you've seen somebody in shorts jogging along for a few miles, it's a weird environment to engage professionally. But yeah, it was he found it beneficial, so that was all good. So thank you, Sharon, I appreciate that. So talk to me a little bit about webinars and your future plans, because I know you've got a few you're thinking about that as part of your marketing strategy, right?
Yes, so we're looking to do, we're doing one a month, basically. The third Wednesday of every month is our webinar Wednesday. We've done a few so far. We've done cash flow and just basic tips for small businesses, not cash flow forecasting, just getting money into your business, turning it around and making sure you pay your suppliers on time. We've done obviously Zero. We did Brexit, which was the toughest one of the lot, because the regulations and the rules that have come out of Brexit, honestly, it was such a negative webinar, and I hate doing that. But there was just, I couldn't find a positive, and I looked for weeks for a positive.
Yeah, you know what? Sometimes in my world, Brexit hasn't really impacted us, but I've got clients who run import-export businesses, and that's had a massive,
enormous
impact on their business. Yeah. I lost you there, Sharon, but I'll come back to you a little bit later. Yeah, Christine, talk to me about what's going on in your world.
So I wanted to do my week with a lot of thank yous. So my first thank yous to Russ, who has worked super fast in all the content that we've given him. So thank you to Russ for being such a superstar.
The website's looking amazing, isn't it?
It is. It's got life and personality now. So yes, that's how we like it. Yeah, so and then we're doing a few other bits as well before we kind of launch into the next phase. My second thank you is to Sharon, because we are thinking about which accounting platform we want to choose, and so that was really helpful to learn about Zero rather than just kind of what you see the demos on the websites that are all a bit flat. So it was really nice to see a deep dive presentation, so thank you very much for that. And then my final thank yous are slightly joint. So it's Simon and you, Chris, because off the back of the presentation I did a couple of weeks ago for this group, Simon put me in touch with somebody at East London Business Place, and it looks like we're going to get some workshops and other learning webinars out probably through East London Business Place. So
love it.
Yeah,
love
thank
it.
you very much for that opportunity.
Yeah. And there was a post, I did a video. It's normally meant to be a video on a Wednesday, but Wednesday got a bit busy, so I did it on a Thursday. Just asking people to share how the connections they've made in the group and how it's benefited them. And there was loads of people who jumped on. Ian jumped on, Chris jumped on, Russ jumped on, thanking you. So you know, it's mutual love all around, Chris, isn't it? You know, that's what it is. But importantly, yeah, it's all about collaboration, working together and finding ways we can do that. So thank you for the thank yous. What are you going to do your webinar on? What are you going to do your East London Business Place webinar on? Have you decided yet? Or
yeah, so it's an extension of what I presented, because obviously I did the presentation here, but actually we can break that down and make that a workshop so that people then actually look at each of those elements, those 9 kind of top tips that we did, then I'll explain that in a bit more detail, how they do that. And then there'll be like a 15-minute, okay, go and have a look at your website, give it your own critique, and then having a few live examples that we'll do at the end. So I don't want to make it too long, because I think, you know, with Zoom these days, I think people are a bit meetinged out. So I want to kind of keep it probably an hour and a half.
But with some practical takeaways people can potentially use in their own websites.
Yeah, and even practical exercises while we're doing it, so they actually get something from it that then they can then take away afterwards. So yeah, that's the plan.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Really appreciate that. Sharon, just one quick curious question, because we all run small businesses here and use different accounting software. We're Xero fans, but is there like, what one should you be comparing against? Like, what other ones should you be looking at?
So there's a few, and there's a few that are sort of the leaders, as it were. So QuickBooks is a strong contender for Xero. I've spent a lot of time looking at QuickBooks. I actually spent a week in the States with QuickBooks, living and breathing it, entertained at their expense. And there was 10 of us that went out from the UK. And I'm a bit of a joke between the 10 of us. We stay in touch. We're a bit of a group on our own. And I'm one of the 10 that don't use QuickBooks going forward, because I just don't feel that it is suitable for UK at the moment.
Okay.
It's great for the US, but is lacking in its UK offering. And 5 years on is still lacking in its UK offering.
Yeah.
So that's my thing with QuickBooks. Cashflow is another one. Cashflow has recently been bought by, I say recently, a little while ago, was bought out by NatWest and offered to all NatWest clients as a free thing with their account. It's a strong contender for Xero, but I feel the functionality, the ease of use, the terminology in Xero is just so much better for small business owners, because it doesn't rely on accounting knowledge.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's that how do you use it practically, isn't it? How about Sage? Because years ago Sage was but I mean we struggle with Sage, and is that for more larger businesses, or have they just not caught up? Because they were massive, weren't they?
Sage were the UK provider, and unfortunately they haven't kept up with online. They've had a few attempts at online bits. They came out with Sage 1, which for anyone that used Sage was equivalent to Sage Instant, so their most basic of basic Sage. It isn't robust enough for small businesses in the UK. It needed a lot of work. It wasn't a stable platform. And I think Sage, unfortunately, are really still struggling to just catch up. They are now behind the curve. And it's a real challenge.
Yeah, and you don't want to change too often, do you? Because I mean, porting that data is a bit of a nightmare.
So I have some secrets to importing data. So if that's something that you're looking at, I have some tools up my sleeve. So talk to me.
Okay, amazing.
There's some really good tools you can use.
Good stuff. All right, well, we'll do that. And are you booked in to do 10 minutes with us? Not sure. Probably worth having a chat with us about. Julie, sorry, right, let me just confirm. Julie Bell, because we're going to leave Julie Welch. I've got a bunch of questions for Julie Welch. So, Julie Bell, tell me what's going on in your world.
Well, I apologise for being late to the meeting this morning, people, but I had to do the paper round with my granddaughter.
Bless.
She wanted to, she's 15, bless her. She wanted to earn some extra pocket money, but none of us are confident in this crazy world at the moment of letting her go out and do it on her own. So we all take it in turns to do it with her.
And do the paper round.
Yeah.
Tell me you go out on your bike, Julie. Just tell me, is that a no, or would you walk around?
Drive. Drive. I drive her.
So right, I need to visualize this just so I've got a proper image of it. Are you throwing the things out the window, or are you just getting out? How are we doing it while you're driving?
I put it off to a fine art, Chris. Let me tell you, I've never done a paper round in my life till my age now. Okay, she collects the papers and they give her a list. So I drive. So we sit in the car, we sort them all out in the route, and then as she goes round, I pull the window down and I hand her the papers in the window.
Right, so your granddaughter's walking.
She walks to the houses and I just drive along giving her the papers.
Gotcha.
I cannot bring myself to just let her go off on her own. I know she's 15 and she's only short and tiny, and she wanted to earn some extra money, and I thought, well, it instills in them some value, because she's very much like, oh, Nan, I really like this top and I really like this. And I go, okay, you know, and I'll buy it for her, as grandparents do. But suddenly I thought, you know, she's got to start learning, and she has now. And she said to me, oh, I really want this particular, I forget where it was now. And I said, well, you save your paper round money and you get it. And what a difference it makes when she does that.
You know what, we're big on that in our house. So Charlotte, Charlotte's just turned 17, and she got her first over Christmas, got a job in retail because retail was still open. And we're keen. It's that work ethic thing, isn't it? You know, how do you train that in kids? And one of the things that we do as a business is go and do financial education in schools, or we used to pre-COVID, and we intend to when we go back, because I think maintaining that practical connection between work and money for kids is an important one. And like, economies change, and the way that we all earn money might be different in 20 years' time. But that put the work in and the cash is a connection that kids need to learn, right?
Yeah, and you know, I was a bit skeptical about her doing it, but then I thought, well, no, my kids all had to, you know, they all have a great work ethic.
Yeah.
But anyway,
do you reckon we've changed over the years, though, in terms of, because at 15, I was out and about, and like, I mean, probably at 12, I was out and about doing stuff. Do you reckon we've become?
Yeah, I agree with you, and this is exactly what I was discussing with my mother. She said, but Julie, when you was her age, she said you used to go, especially in the school holidays, you'd go out about 10 o'clock in the morning and you'd come back at 6.
Yeah.
I would never let her do that now.
Yeah.
I'm a gibbering wreck.
Yeah.
No, and the funny thing was, when she came home and said, oh, Nan, can I get this paper round? Please let me get this paper round. I was like, oh, no. And my kids have all gone, but you encouraged us. I said, but the thing is, I don't know, it probably wasn't different then. I just see more danger now. I think because it's highlighted more, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just, because she's a granddaughter and she's my first.
I mean, I think there's a range of different factors, but I think the reality is it's probably no more dangerous now than it is then, but it's more visible. And then that creates a bit of a different environment. But
anyway,
that debate goes on in our house. I'm like I'm quite free with getting the kids to be a bit more independent, and Cass is very much like, let's make sure they're protected. So, you know, I don't think there's any wrong or right answer either, is there?
No, she'll earn £18 and it's cost me a £5 in diesel today. So.
and she's the only paper person. I don't know if that's the right word. I like Carol's use to post people, so I'm gonna pick that and use it for a paper. Who's got their gran as an assistant? I bet. I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Do I get a bonus at the end of the week? But anyway,
I hope you get a fuel allowance. Talk to me a bit about business.
Yeah, this week I've really focused on LinkedIn. Making more of an effort to literally reach out to my contacts I've met through networking. And it's been amazing, absolutely amazing. I mean, on Tuesday, I literally just connected with about 60 people that I'd just not done, you know, because I was too busy being busy. So, so yeah, I've been concentrating on that. I've had 4 one-to-ones this week. I've got 3 meetings next week for strategic alliances, which I'm thrilled, absolutely thrilled about. And yeah, so I've had quite a positive week.
Good to hear it. I'm
Yeah.
pleased. Simon, talk to me about what's happening in your world, mate.
I think first of all, the sun's shining on me, so I must be doing something right. As you said, we had our monthly networking event, and from the vibe that was in the room, there is that interest in terms of collaborating, and it's one of the things that we do encourage at East London Business Place. For those people who don't know East London Business Place, we are a business support agency. We are funded by Havering Council. That in essence, we can provide support to businesses at no cost to the person that's using our services. It's great to hear some of the positive stuff that's come out this morning, particularly Carol. Really pleased that things are moving on in terms of the connection with the council. And we encourage within our particular group on a monthly basis to get Howard to come along. He shared with us that there are 5 new initiatives that have been launched this week, and he had to rush off because basically he had to get people starting to utilise the money that's been made available to them. So yeah, as moving forward, we are continuing to provide support. So some of the comments made today, for Sharon, for example, when she didn't feel well, one of the things that she might need to consider, and we work with businesses, is to think about contingency and continuity processes. So if you feel like rubbish, who can stand in front of your audience and deliver on your behalf? In terms of spending your time, in terms of what Ian was saying, that it's not good practice to drive yourself crazy doing something you don't enjoy, that really devalues yourself. You're better off to focus on what you're good at and consider collaborating with people or offering services out to people that might be able to deliver a better quality of service. Speculate in order to accumulate. The other thing that we're working on at the moment, which is in conjunction with Tower Hamlets, but it's open to everyone within London. Some of the people on the call this morning are attending it. It's about procurement. We're doing some procurement stuff. So if you do want to look at bigger opportunities and be ready to deliver on those particular opportunities, we've got our first session that we're doing on the 25th of February.
Amazing. Thanks, Simon. Talk to me just a little bit about procurement, because in our field, in financial planning, it's not really our bag. But are there sectors that should be focused on procurement opportunities more than others or not?
I think the most important thing is to sign up to some of the online portals. So there are portals like Compete For, where you can actually find out what's actually going on. There are going to be certain industries which are probably going to have more tender opportunities than others, ranging from training to cleaning to construction. But you've got to be in a good place, and you've got to be, if you're going to go down that particular route, you need to make sure that you can answer all the questions, and as a company or as an individual, you can meet all of those particular needs. And that's what we're trying to make people aware of.
You know what's interesting? I mean, we've got regulatory obligations with our business that we've got, because we're directly authorised by the FCA. We need to make sure we've got enough cash in the bank, and I've got systems and processes, and all of our ducks need to be in a row all the time because we're a regulated business. And actually, when we shifted to be a directly regulated business, it was a useful opportunity to get our ducks in the row. Does that make sense? So actually that getting ready for And again, it's something that I know Ian supports people with. Getting ready for, you know, those larger tenders can actually be quite a good process to follow anyway. To get
Indeed. The thing is as well, the amount of businesses I come across that don't have terms and conditions, who haven't signed up to the ICO because they weren't aware of it. So they're not really following the GDPR regulations. And it's not because they don't want to do it, they just don't know. So if we can put them in a better place and protect the business, then again, we're doing a good job, I think.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. Really appreciate that, mate. And thank you for supporting the Havering Means business and all the work you're doing to help us collaborate. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Very, very quickly, Russ is on the line as he normally is, because I'm useless on my own, let's be frank. And he'll make sure that I stay on track. But Russ, if there are, I know last week we had a few people comment in the Facebook Live, because we post this on the group and there's people watching live and afterwards. So Russ, can you keep an eye on that? And if there's any questions for any of our attendees or any comments, feel free to post in the group live and we'll get round to it hopefully at the end of the meeting. Because last week, thank you, mate. Last week I got to the end, there was loads of comments on the group and I just effectively ignored them. So apologies for that. I won't do that again. Julie Wedge, hello, how are you?
Morning. I'm okay, thank you.
I feel like I've ignored you all morning, and I apologise for that. But as we're going to have a bit more of an in-depth conversation with you today, because you said to me, look, let's do it on a sort of a bit of an interview style. I thought we'll make sure you get a really good batch of time to answer the questions. But first question, nice and easy. Tell us a little bit about you.
All right then. Morning, everyone. I'm reading off a bit of a script, so bear with me. Okay. I'm married to Alfie, and we've tolerated each other for 27 years.
27 years.
Yeah, he still makes me laugh, and I really like him. It sounds really strange. But
no, it's not. But how important is a sense of humour in a long relationship?
Oh God, yeah, married to me, very.
Look, definitely married to me. Definitely married to me, so I get that. So what's the secret of a long-lasting relationship then, do you think?
Yeah.
Go on, carry on.
Oh, we laugh a lot. We don't take each other too well. We take each other seriously, but we don't take things that are thrown at us too seriously. So yeah, Alfie once said to me when I was having a bad time, there's no I in team.
Okay, I like that.
And he wrote that on a wall. And it really, it stuck with me. It's one of those things that he said to me, other than jump on the roller coaster, we're here for the ride, that really sticks in my brain.
But going back to that, I'm actually thinking that this conversation about love and romance is actually quite a pertinent one, because it's more about partnerships, isn't it, and working together. So one thing that I've always struggled with, and funny enough, Simon raised this in the meet, is admitting when I'm not mentally not in the best place, because I think we all go through that. And one thing, particularly over the last few years, I've been able to turn around to Cassie and say is, look, I need an external perspective on this because I'm getting stuck in my head. And sometimes she just makes a joke of it, and that's what I need. And sometimes, do you know what I mean? That external perspective of somebody you trust and love is so important, isn't it?
Yeah, our life's a bit complicated, so yeah, it can have good and bad times, I suppose. Yeah, so yeah, but I've got 2 older children. I know you can't believe it.
No.
Dean is 22, and he works for Alfie. He is a decorator. Yeah.
So Alfie runs his own business as well, right?
Yeah. And then we've got Paige, and Paige is 26. She looks about 16. She's really sweet. And Paige has some quirkiness about her, which means I have to be around the majority of the day. And as she's got older, has become a bit more dependent on me,
Okay.
which has a big impact on me and what I want to do with life.
How important is that flexibility the business gives you there? Is
Massive,
that
massive. And I think if I'd have had this when she was growing up, when financial demands on Alfie and I were so different, would have been a lot easier. Yeah.
okay?
So, I'm a huge family person. I'm really looking forward to seeing my parents. I haven't seen them for ages. It's hard going, this one. I've always lived in Hornchurch, and Hornchurch is the centre of my universe. That's what I think.
Where's your parents? Where are they?
They live in Frinton. They deserted me.
But they did that like Havering thing of just moving to the coast, didn't they? You know, like sort of people moved from East London to Essex and then just slowly moved to the sea. I don't know what the next move after that is. Is it just like sailing, or I don't know?
Sorry, Kevin. Sorry.
Right, no. Right, so moving on. And what was the first thing you're going to do when you see your mum and dad?
I'll probably sit there and blub quite a bit, to be honest.
Yeah.
My dad's got dementia, so I know it's particularly hard on my mum, and just to go there, just to be part of them, it'll be a huge relief for mum as well. So yeah, she's done amazing for 4 months.
How you been staying in touch?
On the phone. We tried Zoom, but do you know, my mum, she's really, really intelligent. Yeah. She's amazing, my mum. She's strong, everything. Was the PA to the head of the finance department for the local NHS trust. So she had a really strong, important role. Yeah. But trying to get her to new Zoom, it's just been, oh God.
So just a very quick story. We tried, like a lot of the families across the UK, we tried a Zoom quiz at the start of lockdown 1 with my dad and Cassie's mum and dad. Now, Cassie's mum and dad are pretty smart people, but Cassie's dad was up for this because he used to be a bit of a quizzer. So he was on, do you remember 15 to 1? Yeah. Do you remember? He got to the final with 15 to 1 when it was actually a lot harder. So he's like a really good quizzer. But we couldn't get him to work Zoom. So it was like a bit of a failed concept in the end. But anyway, right, tell me a little bit about the business.
Okay. Well, I started Flower Shed back in 2012.
Okay.
It was going to be a little bit of a background. About in 2011, I had a bit of a blip in life, and I lost my way a bit, and it affected me mentally. And this is how I fell in love with flowers. So yeah, so Flower Shed was properly started in 2012, mainly as a hobby, because I've always been quite crafty, like creative. It was to get me motivated and to keep my brain cells turning. So that's in the early stages of Flower Shed and being qualified, I was asked to make a bouquet for the Queen. And she was visiting Barking and Dagenham. And a kind of a long story, I did a lot of volunteering over there. I know quite a few of the councillors over there, and they really helped me. Yeah. And they said, you know, we've got this important visitor. Would you like to do the flowers? And so I jumped at that chance. And they, I had an invitation to have like lunch with the Queen when she was in there. I was just in the corner. So it's nothing grand, but I was just in the corner, and
that's amazing.
So they gave me some confidence. Yeah. And I laughed because at lunchtime on that day, I was having lunch in the same room as the Queen, and then in the evening I went to my first Upton Park game.
Okay. So it was a day of firsts.
Yeah.
It was a day of firsts. Is it? So you went to your first football game because What are the boys into football, or they
Oh.
massively? Yeah.
Yeah, but Dean plays football, still plays football. It's just something that we've done. Alfie's always taken them and said, come on, you've got to come to a football match. Why not?
Yeah.
We go
Good.
over and support Dagenham quite regularly. But yeah, we saw the best team in the world play. So yeah.
Have you been to the London Stadium yet?
Yeah. Yeah, I quite like it. Everybody else is not Upton Park, but it's brilliant. It's I quite like that up there.
I've got 2012 Olympic memories though. There's always that bit where you go, you know what, this is where the greatest Olympics in the world happened as well. Do you know what I mean? So there's always that connection. So flowers for the Queen. What other things are the most memorable bouquets that you've done?
I think that's probably got to be the most memorable. But then when I started, Alfie, he hates me for this. Alfie built himself a nice man cave at the end of the garden. Okay. He's got sky in there, there's a settee, everything. And then when I said, flower shed's going to come on a bit more now, I need some space, I kicked him out.
Julie, please don't give Cassie ideas. I mean, genuinely, this is my little sanctuary. I'm all right, Daddy. I'm now worried I'm going to get slung out. So he didn't mind too much because you're in there now, right?
I don't think he had too much option, to be honest with you. If I have a bit of an idea, he kind of runs with it as well now. He's been a big instrumental part of my confidence. So yeah, so I've had to follow his dreams, so he can follow some of mine now. Yeah. Down to the fact that I brought a friend of mine had a prop hire business, and she was selling up, and Alfie had bought a summer house.
Right.
And now all my prop hire stuff is in his summer.
Well, that was going to be one of my conversations, because on the website it talks about prop hire, and I before I did a bit of research ready for this interview, I didn't know you did prop hire. So talk to me a little bit about that side of the business.
I worked closely with this lady, and she decided to move to Devon. I think everybody I know seems to move away from me. But yeah, and she said, I'm not going to take everything with me. Do you want to buy some of my props and my chair covers and things like that? And it's something that if I need to, Paige will come and help, because she likes everything just so. She puts these neat bows on. She's amazing. So so it was.
And that's mainly for weddings.
Weddings, christenings, things like that. For some events, some people, they don't want their chairs to look quite as unkept as sometimes they do look in venues. So yeah, I go in and I put all the chair covers up for them.
Are you? I mean, I don't know if it's too early days for the events business, but are you seeing sort of green shoots in that? Are you getting more inquiries on that? Not yet.
No, not at all.
Might be a bit early, mightn't it?
I've had 2 weddings cancelled this week, and they've just said we're not even going to move our dates. Yeah, we're just given up. So, which is sad, really.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll have more information sort of next week, and we'll know where we go. But it's. Do you think there'll be a resurgence though? Because I was talking to somebody who ran a restaurant a couple of weeks ago, and he's expecting it to get super busy once we've got a bit of clarity.
I think it's going to take a long while, because I still think there's that element of people, they're not in that trust kind of thing.
Yeah.
We've still got to trust people, and I still think it's going to feel very weird going out and standing next to someone and being next to someone that you don't know, kind of thing. And there's certainly at events and training, you're not going to know everyone. It's different when it's a family thing, but if you're, you've got to go and sit next to someone, I think people are going to be a bit more.
It's going to be like a bit gradual. Talk to me. I mean, you have turned me into a bit of a romantic. And when I say romantic, Julia, I mean 2 sets of flowers in 3 months. I mean, after not doing anything for about 20 years, that's embarrassingly good for me. But talk to me. You know what? Cassie got the flowers through, and she she was commenting to me about how they were put together really, really nicely. So talk to me a bit about how you learned how to do that and where that skills come from.
You have to, there's techniques, and people just think you just get a bunch of flowers and you just put them together, but there's not. You have to learn. I have to learn, or I learned how to spiral them, and there's like techniques and that you have to learn. And as a bouquet will get bigger and more expensive, you have to hold it different to be able to turn it and put the flowers in.
Where did you learn?
Where did I learn? I went to adult college.
Okay.
Yeah, and picked up my skills there, and spoke to suppliers and that, and they've said, gosh, do you really think I need to go to X place to learn all this? And they've said, no, we've seen your work, you're fine, just keep going the way you are and you'll pick everything up. So yeah, that's where I've picked up my qualifications and gone on from there.
Amazing. And talk to me a little bit about where your work comes from.
Oh. It started coming from networking, and now I put myself on Google My Business.
Okay.
And as soon as I put something new on there, more work seems to come in. So if anybody's not on My Business, then go on there. It's been really good for me. Yeah.
So people are finding you on Google My Business and getting in touch.
Yeah.
And do you put images on there as well?
I do, but with a lot of people on Facebook, what I'm learning now is a lot of people that, oh, can you send me a bouquet? Can you send me a picture of it? And it's taking up a lot of time. And it's not that I haven't got time, but I'm thinking ahead of, oh my goodness, the more I get busier, I can't kind of sit there over night time having half-hour conversations. Over a £35 bouquet. It's difficult. So I'm now trying to get into the habit of saying, go and have a look at my website, this is the style, and then come back to me, and then that's working.
You know what's weird? I think part of any business's challenge is making that introduction to new clients a bit more efficient. So at Savello, we send out a pack with my bio, our welcome to the family document, which talks about what it's like working with us, due diligence, so people can do their own research. But making that process more efficient as you're busier is important, isn't it? And it sounds like you're getting there.
Yeah. It's putting in different systems.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, spot on. So help me understand. I know. For you, I mean that raises another interesting point, because I know for you the work you do is deeply personal, and you want to understand a little bit more about the stories of the people, so you can make sure the flowers represent them, particularly when somebody's just gone through a bereavement and you're doing the flowers for the funeral. Help me understand how that works in practice, because I know that you like to have a chat with them.
Yep. My first thing before COVID was, let's set up a meeting. If I was going to do if they wanted me to do the whole funeral, not just one piece, let's have a meeting, and I'll go and meet the family. People still need to work. Just because someone in their family has passed away, there's still, Joe still needs to work, and Christine can't get time off. So often I'll go out of an evening and just sit and talk to the family, and it's more personal. It shows that I care, and that's how I want to come across, because I really do. I love listening to stories, and it's not all tears. It's not always all tears. I've only been to one consultation where it's been really emotional. So it's usually about 3 or 4 days after someone's passed away, and that initial shock, although it's still an initial shock, they've calmed down a little bit, and then they start reminiscing and telling me stories and thinking how I can incorporate that.
But I mean, funerals, I lost my mum a couple of years ago now, And when she had terminal cancer, so we had a period of time where we knew we could actually have a conversation with her about her passing and what she wanted and stuff like that. And at the funeral, she had "Don't Worry, Be Happy" by Bobby McFerrin, because she wanted it to be a celebration of life.
I'd say to everyone, have a 30-second conversation. It only has to be 30 seconds with your loved ones. Find out what they want, because some people don't want flowers. They don't want this. They don't want that. Do it.
But how, I suppose the question I had was, how do you make sure that those stories you get told about that particular individual then translate into what you do from a flower perspective?
An example was people telling me that he had a heart of gold. So inside the flowers, there was all little tiny gold hearts, and people, you know, they picked that up. Artists, they would have hidden little paint palettes in, paint brushes, things like that. One lady only wore a certain colour nail varnish, and she was a keen golfer. So I painted the end of the golf club that we'd done as a tribute in her nail varnish.
Love it.
So things like that, they're the personal bit.
Deeply personal, and unique as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been running your business for a few years now. What have you learned most about running the business?
Right. It's okay to stay in your own lane. Yeah, so there's competition out there. Stay in your own lane. If you need help, search out those areas where someone can solve your problem, because sometimes I'll spend days or hours, and then someone else can come along and go bump, 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 and it's done within a couple of hours. Christina knows this.
but you know what, that's been a theme today, isn't it? Do you know, ask for help when you haven't got the expertise, because somebody will be there that can solve it like that.
Even though even though I'm really small, I'm now starting to see the benefits of what I've put in, because I can now say to someone, well, I can afford this, can you do this? Or, you know, and I don't think, to me it's a big thing, but other people might think, oh, that's really tiny, why would you do that? But it's now knowing that from being really small, that's how you spend your money wisely, that you're making those decisions.
I mean, as we've said, it's a shift in mindset, isn't it? You know, that just me to, I've got this ecosystem around me that I can then use.
Yeah, I've got a bad relationship with money. Not that I spend it, I can't spend it. So that's another, I mean, that comes from my parents, because they've always said save, save, save. It's very difficult. Yeah, for me, that's a hurdle.
Yeah, look, as a financial planner, I've got to say you've got to get the balance right. I mean, if you ask Cassie, the amount that we squirrel away is ridiculous, and she'd be spending a bit more of it. But you're right in terms of saying that there's always that emotional relationship with money, isn't there? You know, that element where it comes from what we taught about money over the years. So help me understand a little bit about what the future looks like for Flower Shed.
I never thought that I'd want a shop. I've been adamant, I don't want a shop, I don't want a shop, I don't want anything.
You changed your mind.
I'm changing. Yeah, things are changing, because I like the fact that I've got a small workshop at the end of my garden. It's brilliant, but I'm missing out, and I know that I'm missing out. And I'd quite like to have somewhere where I can close the door and walk away, and not be able to just walk down my garden path and go do a bit more.
I had this conversation with somebody yesterday. Look, I'm desperate to get back in the office, even though it's only a 15-minute walk from the house, just so that I've got a bit of a line between work and life. So that does make a difference. And when we started to employ, I mean, when we at Savello, we started employing, I don't know, 2000, actually it was probably 2011. And I had 2 people working out of my shed, this building for a year, and then you think actually you need to then take the next step and make it a bit more professional. But it's scary, isn't it? It's scary for us.
Years ago, when I was helping Alfie grow his business, we got a big contract in Fords over in Dagenham, and we needed to employ 16 people, like quick. And doing it from home didn't work, so we gained offices, and I kind of think that balance then was a lot better. Although we were worrying about childcare and things like that, that balance was a lot easier, because we used to come home and have a weekend, and the weekend was us. Oh, I'll just pop and do this. And now Alfie works from home. He doesn't work from home, he doesn't paint from home, but he's like with me, he's like, move over. Like,
if that was the case, you'd have the most painted house in Havering, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it'd be like Mr. Tickles. That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
It would.
Yeah, so no, but then you've got that balance of when it's time to turn off and when it's time to turn up. And at the minute, how I'm growing, it just feels like it's 24 hours.
Yeah, and talk to me. Yeah, 100%. I agree. Talk to me a little bit about what you're getting the most out of being part of the HMB community, if you are. I mean, it might be all bad.
Yeah, it is. I've got someone that buys flowers for their wife.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got at least 2 orders in 2 months, Julie. I mean, that's new.
I'm winning. I've put my private island. Don't worry.
Listen, if your retirement plan is based on my flower consumption, I'd think again.
I need to see you, don't I? No, I'm me. Havering mean business. I can come on. I can be me. I don't feel intimidated by the people in the room. It's natural. If I've got a question, I know I can put it on the group, and however silly that may look, I know that I can ask that question. 100%. I took a business coach on at the start of lockdown last year. That's helped me. But learning from other businesses is huge. It's just like, there's just, you know, you've done it. Everyone on here seems to have done it. They've worked through it, and now I can say, well, okay, now I'm taking myself a bit more seriously. But
Judy, thank you for saying that, because one of the things that's important to me is authenticity and being a bit more human in business. Yeah. And working together as a team, regardless of what size we are. So the fact that you can feel you can be yourself, particularly in this environment, and we can have a laugh and just make it a fun time in business, that's important to me. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Not too corporate kind of thing.
Yeah, and 100%. And the community is meant to be just authentic people just trying to find ways to work together. So I appreciate you being part of the community. Talk to me a little bit about the story that best describes your business.
I've answered all your questions, yeah, and this is the one that I can't answer.
Okay.
It's really difficult,
because there's too many.
I just do me. When I pick up the phone and someone wants flowers, I'm just me. I know that it's going to mean a lot because they've not gone to a supermarket to pick up a bunch of flowers, Chris.
But that well this is the thing. Cassie said to me when she got, I mean, she did trump me by having a brass band turn up outside my house, Julie. I mean,
that amazing.
I thought I'd gone to a massive effort, and then a brass band turns up, and you go, I'm failed as a husband.
Yeah, I can't deliver flowers to the brass band.
Next time, can you do props though? I want some props.
next year, I've said next year, if business doubles, yeah, this year, I'm going to have someone dressed as a gorilla giving out my.
That's good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
But she said the efforts that I've made in the past in terms of getting garage flowers or flowers from Tesco's at the last minute, what you do is real artistry compared to them just plonking flowers in a thing.
Yeah.
So and that to me is important because she sees and appreciates the difference. We'll come on to the group and whether they've got any questions for you, Julie, but where can people find out a little bit more about you and your business?
I am on Facebook and I'm on Instagram, and I'm updating my website at the moment, but you can find me at www.flowershedflorist. So yeah, I've put all my details in.
Oh, yeah. And I like the domain name as well. That .florist thing works well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's because I couldn't have the .co.uk one. So yeah.
I didn't even realise there was a .florist. So it's it works really well. Yeah. Any questions from the group?
I've just seen Martin try and squeeze past Carol.
Martin, if I've got to buy flowers, mate, come on, you've got to get involved in a bit of that.
When I first met Martin, we were bouncing names around, yeah, and he come up with I could have a name of Doom and Bloom.
It's not bad, actually. It's not bad. You know what? I am guilty for loving a pun, Martin, and I've got to give you some. I've got to give you some respect for that. That is very good. Yeah.
I'll have a think for your one then.
yeah. There could be. Can you make it as complimentary as possible, just to protect my ego? I mean, like, make it a bit insulting if you want, but it's fine. Any questions for Julie? Sharon.
No question for you, Julie. If you could do your time again with your floristry, what would you do differently?
Right question.
I wouldn't go in thinking it's just a hobby. I would, yeah, I'd go in and go big, if that makes sense.
And I suppose you've had that business experience before as well, running, helping Abby run running the business for Abby. So what skills would you apply now that you potentially didn't at the start?
I've got. I say this, but I don't know if I apply it. I think I've got a bit more business sense. What you were saying about procurement, it rings home, because when you're going to go in for that, you have to have certain ducks lined up.
Yeah.
And when Alfie was going for some of the bigger contracts, we had to be part of a big construction line. We had to have this. We need to have site safe, and we haven't got any of those bodies in my industry for like trust and knowledge. Yeah, I'm part of some. I've got the British Florist Association. I'm part of that. But you have to have all your ducks lined up. So I learned that sometimes you can do the work, but it's about having a glossy. It is about having the glossy qualifications and the leaflets that make you look more professional.
It's interesting because we're getting our firm. As some of you know, I got chartered as a financial planner in December. We're now getting the firm chartered, and it's going to cost us a bit of money to do and allow us to have the badge. But it's just about a bit of additional professional validation, isn't it? It's just the next step. And do we need it? Don't know. Is it going to be the next step for our business properly?
I will talk about him, but Alfie had a meeting of some in Falls, and there was a load of Americans come over, and they said to Alfie, "Oh, you must wear a suit." Well, Alfie turned up without a suit, and they were like, "Oh God!" But it was in the end, it was the meeting and his personality, because he said a suit's not going to put paint on the walls. And I get it, but there's a big difference when we're working with the Guinness Trust. It does make a difference. It does make a big difference. So it's whether or not where you want to take business and how you're going to present yourself. So I think that's probably what I would do better, Sharon, is look a bit better and be a bit more bolder.
Yeah. Ian, did you have a question? You've unmuted yourself, mate.
Yeah. The question that I've got really is, how do you? I mean, I've ordered stuff from you, and I gave you so little information, but what you provided was so perfect. How does that magic happen?
I think you can judge people by what they're saying. I'm very quick at kind of guessing what my client wants. It's very different from a lady phoning up to a man, and I shouldn't make that judgment call, but there is. Yeah.
I think you're right. I mean, I certainly said I want something to, because it was something between Christmas and New Year, wasn't it? And it was something to say, all right, Christmas might be over, but I've not forgotten you. And it was certainly a romantic gesture, but I say, what you provided in the little hat box was absolutely perfect.
Thank you.
Amazing.
No.
Any other questions for Julie? No. Well, look, I've got to say a massive thanks for agreeing to be interviewed. I hope it wasn't too intense, but yeah, thank you for sharing a little bit about you and your business, and I did enjoy the challenge of having to come up with a question, so thanks for the challenge as well. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Yeah, well done, well done. Okay, cool. So let's move on to I've just seen Martin's hand just come out, just this disembodied hand. Just anyway, Carol, if Martin wants to get involved, he's more than welcome to a meeting at one week or the other. We're not letting him, are we? We're not letting him.
No, he's presenting in a couple of weeks, isn't he? So he'll be allowed then.
Yeah, we'll let him in for one meeting only. Leslie, talk to me about what your wins of the week are.
I half fired a client. So I haven't completely fired them, but I've got rid of the bit that was causing the aggravation for us, and retained all the stuff that we love doing. So yeah, so that was a win of the week, and I've got 3 new clients. So
amazing stuff. Where have they come from? Is that from
small? One is a guy I edited a book for about, well, that came out in 2006, so he's come back to me. One was a referral that was, well, it's sort of via referral I had a year ago that we talked, but nothing ever came of it. And now he's been moved into a company as CFO, and it's a big organization that sells one piece of equipment $750,000. So it's like a completely different ball game. Yep. And one is from another networking group.
Good stuff. Well, amazing, really good work. And losing the clients we're not enjoying working with might be as valuable. It's funny that you started with that one and not the 3 new pieces of work, because actually that time, Hoover, that
absolutely, because the stress levels have gone. Whew.
Yeah, exactly. Ian, talk to me about what your wins of the week are, mate.
Yeah, so I've got 2. The first one is financial. I've actually got to my what I call my minimum earnings target for the first time since the beginning of last year. So that's fabulous.
Well done.
It does mean I'm kind of getting back on.
How do you measure that? Is that like, do you do that on a quarterly basis, or do you do it across the year?
Certainly, there is, as Sharon will know, there is a cash flow plan. All of that, all of the kind of marketing strategy is there to try and bring people in to meet that, and I review it all monthly. Okay. Though it's just me, and I've got my own sounding board. My partner Shani, she's kind of with me all every step of the way, and I get challenged from her. Believe you me, which is brilliant, and we celebrate the successes together. So. Yeah.
Well, that's an amazing win. So well done, Ian. That's fantastic news. Love it. Well done. Carol, talk to me about what your big win of the week is. Snow
I
stuffing.
do it every time, don't I? I'm so excited about that stuff at the council. I said it already. So I have got a few other good things that happened. I had a lovely one-to-one with Sharon. Yeah, I can't believe we haven't even met each other in person. We've only known each other since all this has gone on, but it was so lovely to have a catch up. And I've got one-to-one with Leslie on Monday. And yeah, we think it's going to be really interesting. So obviously we do the same kind of thing, but she's online and I'm offline, and we both know there's room for both of us. You see the amount of online stuff I do, shouting door to door out, and yeah, it's just a case of making sure you know, I was saying just the other day to somebody, we do practice what we preach, because we put our own leaflets out as well with our rounds, and often lately we'll seem to get a phone call from someone and they'll say, well, I know that it works because I've got your leaflet in my hand, it came through the door. So it's a good start.
I mean, there's a guy who I've got time for, who runs a financial planning business up in the Midlands. And his analogy when it comes to marketing is always how many, and again, not a fisherman, so apologies if I get this analogy completely wrong. How many rods have you got in the lake? You know, how many things are part of your marketing strand that you can actually deliver? So online, offline, you know, networking, you know, webinars, education, all a part of the mix, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks, Carol. Really appreciate that, and glad you're finding good collaborations. Keep up with the LinkedIn content as well. I'm loving it. Sharon, talk to me about your wins of the week.
So I think the win of the week has to be my webinar, which I did enjoy. Coming back on Leslie's point, the satisfaction in firing a time meeting client is great. Because if you are wasting your time on clients like that are sucking your attention, I refer to them as vampire clients, because they literally suck your blood. You don't have the opportunity, the energy, the anything to give to the clients who don't suck your blood, because you're just so drained by it. And similar to this, I had a client who I had for a whole 3 days. I acquired him on the Wednesday morning and fired him on the Friday afternoon, where he got really abusive, very, very rude. And he said, he's going to struggle to work like this going forward. And you know what, you're not going to have to worry, because we're not going to be working going forward. Yeah. It's going to be fine.
But I mean, probably like you, Sharon, I want a mutual relationship of trust with my clients, not a relationship where you think you can give me a call and order me to do stuff. You know, if you're employing a professional, make sure, like, expect a bit of challenge every now and again, because I will be saying stuff that will be for your benefit, but will ask you some interesting questions. And again, I think you get an impression pretty quickly, certainly when we do, as you know, we do a bit of a discovery at the start when we take on a client, and that takes some time, about what sort of dynamic it's going to be. And we still get it wrong, still take on clients that we can't work with, but I think we're getting a bit better, and I think all of us appreciate that taking on those right clients is super important, isn't it?
There's a lot to be said for gut instinct. My gut instinct with this guy was bad from the beginning, but he was in a hole. I felt sorry for him. So you try and do the nice thing. You try and help him. He literally had 2 days to file 2 VAT returns and 6 months worth of bookkeeping. So you try and help.
Yeah.
And the more you try, the more I worked on it, the more I discovered, actually, I'm never going to please this guy, and nothing is ever going to make him happy. So it's best we divorce now, because it makes it less painful for the future.
Yeah, well, it after 3 days, it counts as an annulment, doesn't it? I don't know. I mean, it's not even a divorce at that point. Chris, you know what? I started this meeting talking about love and romance, and we've talked quite a lot about divorce. I'm definitely going wrong somewhere. Christine, how's your week been in terms of wins?
I think the wins are my thank yous that I mentioned earlier on, so I'm not going to repeat that. I would echo what Julie said about Google My Business and how that can bring a lot of work to your business. So if you haven't looked at your own profile recently, my top tip is go back and have a look. I know they have products, but products can be services. So don't be afraid to fill out that section with your services if you're service orientated, and hopefully that'll bring you some more business. So just wanted to share that with everybody.
Great stuff. And again, thank you for your support with Havering Means Business. That website is looking Brilliant. Simon, talk to me about your wins.
So I'm struggling on my phone this morning because I couldn't connect on the PC. So I suppose technology is going to be one of them. Finding workarounds. If it doesn't work, try and find a workaround. I would say also the meeting that we had at the beginning of the week was very, very good. From a personal perspective, I am doing as I, what's the saying? Do as I do, do as I say, not as I do, but I'm actually changing that slightly. So I'm doing a little bit more on social media and connecting with clients. But I suppose that highlight, the creme de la creme part of it is really thank yous from Carol, from Christine, and comments that I've had over the last few weeks from Sharon and Ian and yourself, Chris, in terms of appreciating what we do.
Yeah, and thank you for the support you've given to us as well. We really appreciate it, mate. That's really, really good. And talking, I mean, it's really weird talking about the relationships we've built offline. And I've built some really good relationships offline. I am looking forward to meeting some of the people I've built relationships with actually in real life. You know, that's important. And one of the things that once we know we've got a bit of clarity on in terms of what we're allowed to do and not, is start thinking about whether we do some live events later in the year if everybody's up for it. Good stuff. All right, well, I'll keep you informed on that. We don't know where we are with it yet, but certainly on the radar. That's it for another Havering Means Business Morning Commute. Hope everybody has a really amazing day and a good weekend with their families. And I will speak to you soon. See you in the community later. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Later,
everyone.
bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.